Success in any competitive ecosystem comes down to how you allocate resources. You can chase momentum, or you can build structural durability. And in the Pokémon world, almost nothing embodies pure, stubborn durability like Muk. Most competitive players and TCG investors share a common instinct. They chase the top of the tier list. They draft fast, aggressive sweepers, or spend their capital on high-hype mascot characters like Charizard, looking for an immediate payoff. This aggressive approach comes with a built-in hype tax. In the TCG market, you're paying a massive financial premium for saturated assets, while in battle, your fragile S-tier sweepers face predictable, highly specialized counters that opponents have been practicing against for months. Because Muk is an inherently slow, defensively oriented, ugly duckling, it often flies under the radar of both trainers and collectors. This lack of mainstream competition creates a unique market opening, allowing Muk cards to quietly reach a 25.3% year-to-date growth rate in the TCG market, while the flashier assets fluctuate. Choosing Muk means trading the thrill of immediate momentum for a calculated long-term yield. To see if that trade-off is actually viable, we have to look at the mathematical return on investment. Investing in an overlooked defensive entity requires a different set of expectations than a standard S-tier choice. This matrix compares asset inputs. For a high-hype asset, initial cost is extreme, but setup time is minimal. A sleeper asset like Muk flips this: low initial cost, but high turn setup time. The outcome shows why patience matters. Hype assets give instant momentum that decays, while sleeper assets provide long-term stability. This analytical framework applies to both turn-based strategies in competitive Smogon formats and capital-heavy allocations in the TCG portfolio. True optimization requires measuring the total cost of acquisition, whether that's measured in turns or dollars, against the total lifespan of the asset's utility. In lower competitive tiers, Kantonian Muk is utilized as a high-liability, high-reward time investment, commonly referred to as the Crumb Muk build. This strategy requires a strict commitment of move slots: Curse, Rest, Sleep Talk, and Poison Jab. The goal of this specific setup is to create an unkillable wall. By combining Rest with Sleep Talk, Muk can heal to full health and ignore status conditions while continuing to set up its stats. However, this strategy carries a severe risk. You are sacrificing all early offensive momentum, which leaves Muk completely exposed to powerful ground-type attackers before its defensive curse boosts can stack up. Surviving that early exposure requires a heavy stat investment: 252 effort values in both HP and special defense, paired with a careful nature to handle special attackers while the physical defense is still building. You also need the sticky hold ability. Muk's viability depends entirely on holding its black sludge for passive recovery, and Sticky Hold prevents opponents from using moves like Trick to steal that essential item. The trade-off is that you cannot use the Poison Touch ability. Choosing Sticky Hold means giving up the chance to spread passive, incremental poison damage to every opponent Muk touches. Kantonian Muk is a polarized investment. It punishes misplays during setup, but it mathematically dominates the late game once those specific conditions are met. Regional forms allow for a shift in utility without increasing base stats. A lowland Muk perfectly exemplifies trading a high ceiling for immediate reliability. With a new poison and dark typing, a lowland Muk gains psychic immunity and only a single ground weakness. This immediate defensive utility means it doesn't need multiple setup turns to become a viable team pivot. This improved typing carries a hidden cost. Because a lowland Muk is so consistently useful, it is pushed into higher, more dangerous competitive tiers, where the power level of the opposition is much higher. In these higher tiers, its ROI is suppressed by the extreme frequency of Earthquake. Even with its great typing, a single, highly common ground-type attack can end its utility instantly. While variants like Alolan Ninetales or Sandslash gain superior types offset by fatal 4x weaknesses, Alolan Muk remains structurally sound. Alolan Muk effectively trades the infinite defensive potential of the Cron Muk setup for turn 1 liquidity and team safety. The same logic of time versus momentum applies to financial capital. For TCG collectors, the dilemma is whether to put funds into a mid-tier character that lacks a mascot's popularity. Looking at the macro data, The current Muk TCG market is valued at roughly $839 across 52 different cards. This graph shows a steady 25.3% growth year to date. While high-hype cards experience a volatile spike and crash cycle, Muk's growth is quiet and consistent. The trade-off is liquidity. Because buyer demand for Muk is lower than for a mascot like Charizard, it can take longer to find a buyer when you're ready to sell your cards. The highest yields are found in premium singles, like the vintage Aquapolis H17 Holo at $260, or the Muk and Alolan Muk GX Full Art at $107. These assets offer the highest ceiling, but they also carry a high barrier to entry and significant risks regarding the physical condition and grading of the cards. Investing in Muk is a slow, methodical strategy. It rewards the patient collector and punishes anyone looking for a quick day trade. Successful optimization requires matching a specific asset to your individual risk profile and timeframe. We can map the optimal Muk strategy onto this quadrant chart, looking at cost against potential impact. The patient optimizer should look towards Cantonian Chromuk. It's a low-cost entry for players who can handle the high turn count. The synergy player benefits most from Alolan Muk, providing immediate, reliable impact. Finally, the value investor should target premium vintage Muk Holos. The acquisition cost is high, but they offer a steady store of value outpacing standard inflation. However, if you demand hyper-aggressive, fast-paced play, or if you're looking for rapid day trades, Muk is likely the wrong asset. The most valuable assets are rarely the flashiest. They are the ones built on structural, undeniable resilience. Invest accordingly.